Hey folks, welcome back to our Dice Tower preview. I'm Mark, and today I'm taking a look at OMEN Fires in the East. OMEN Fires in the East is for 2 players, it's for ages 12 and up, and it plays in about 30 minutes from Colossal Games. With grease and flames, the warring half-god siblings turn their gaze to the east, to the land of plenty. They hope to gain the favor and powerful rewards of the fickle gods of the East. Fires in the East is the latest chapter in the OMEN saga of games created by John Cloudis. It features new units, new rewards, and new challenges for 2 would-be conquerors. While it is a standalone game, it can also be mixed with other OMEN games for a more epic experience. So I'm strictly focusing on Fires in the East. You know, there's a lot of other videos that focus on OMEN and how it plays, and even instructional videos from my good buddy Robert Gesslinger, and you should really check those out. But I thought it would be interesting to actually focus on this brand new experience. So of course, setup is very similar to the other OMEN games. You're going to take the city board and put it in the middle of the table. You're going to take the reward tokens and shuffle them up and put 2 on each slot. Then you're going to put the war tone tokens on top of those. You're going to take the cards, shuffle them up, put them to the side, grab the victory point tokens and the coins. And then finally, both players will receive a reference card. And to start the game, each player receives 4 coins and 4 cards. So true to the OMEN core, players will be gathering wealth, deploying troops, warring over cities, and making offerings to the gods. Now there are 4 phases to every round. The first phase is the wealth step. Now, this is where you're gaining forces and resources to go to battle over these cities. And really this is very straightforward. You have 3 action points to either get coins or cards or a combination of both. But if you go all in on one or the other, then you get a bonus and you'll get an extra card or an extra coin. But generally you might be splitting it up. You're getting 2 coins and 1 card, or 2 cards and 1 coin, however you need to do it. Next up is the surge step. And really this is where you're going to be deploying units to the field in hopes of winning those reward tiles at each of the city locations. But each of the units have different abilities and things to keep in mind as you deploy them. So you choose a unit card from your hand. You're going to pay the cost of this card and deploy it to any of the 3 cities on your side of the board. The coins will then go back to the general supply. Once you've played a card to one of the 3 cities, then you check the ability of the card. If it says deploy, then you must activate this ability. The only exception here is if the words contain may. The active player can continue deploying units to cities as long as they have gold to do so. However, you are restricted to only having 5 units per city. Now in this next step coming up, you're going to be battling for these cities and you will be gaining reward tokens. But if you've already received one from a previous round, then you have the option to use one of these tokens on your turn before the surge step ends. But you do give up a victory point. So when you receive them, they come to your hand face down and they're worth 2 victory points. Flip them over, use their ability, they're only worth 1 at the end of the game. But they have numerous different abilities on these tiles. And one of my favorites is the Marduk's Decree. You destroy all units in one city or move the top reward tile of that city from the game. So this can really wipe out one of your opponent's massive battle attacks on one of the cities. And it's important to note that when you activate one of these tiles, you can only activate one of them per round. Now before we go any further, let's take a look at a card and understand how these stats work. First at the top you have the unit title. And then you have the unit type, which is important because depending on the type, it might be worth 1 or 2 units. So then you have the 3 icons below the type. The first one is gold, and that's what it's going to cost to deploy it to the field. The second one in red is your strength value, and the strength values all add up as you're going to war for a particular city and hopefully getting those rewards. And then the last one is your offering value. And in the offering phase, when you're giving offerings to the gods, you're going to place this in the discard pile and get more cards and more gold. So those are the main things at the top of the card. Now at the bottom of the card are the abilities. And these are the things we are going to take a closer look at because there's some interesting things with this new version. Now there are 4 types of units in this deck. And the ones that you're going to find most frequently are the warriors. and they're the ones that have the deploy ability at the bottom. And what's great here is that every time you move a warrior from one city to another, their deploy ability activates again. So let's take a look at a few of these. The one that I have here is the Depth Dweller. And if you have 2 or fewer cards in your hand, then you return 1 card from the discard pile to your hand. It's a great way to stock up for the next turn. So next we have the Sphinx, who is colossal. That means he counts as 2 units. Also, the Sphinx is treasured. So if you hang on to the Sphinx until the end of the game, the Sphinx is worth 1 extra victory point. Next, let's take a look at a merchant. The thing with the merchants are they have a new keyword called barter. And if you have this card in your hand, during the wealth step, which is the first phase, you can actually discard this to get 1 additional wealth action. So it'll give you an extra card or extra gold or whatever you need at the time. Also, this particular card has end of surge step. And what's great here is that while this card is in play on a city, an opponent loses 2 coins. And there's different effects for the different cards, but this one I like in particular, causing your opponent to lose money. Now the Priestess has 2 new abilities. Ritual is the first one. And what's slick here is that if the Priestess is in play and you get to the offering step where you're offering goods to the gods and you match the value that the Priestess calls for, then you can take her and move her to your reward area, flip her over, and put a 2-point victory token on top. This will add to your total at the end of the game. And secondly, the Priestess has Scorned. And what this does is, if this card is discarded or destroyed from anywhere, then you gain that bonus. In this one in particular, you get to draw 2 cards, but the Priestess have different abilities. And it's one of the things I find most intriguing about this version of Omen. Next up is the war phase, and the first thing you do here is check to see if the city is war-torn. So if your opponent has 3 units in the city and or you collectively have 5 units in the city, then that city has fallen under the war, and you will flip the token and then battle it out. And basically you're just going to total up your points to see who wins. It's the number in red. Who has the highest value wins that reward token. So you'll take the reward token and collect it and keep it hidden on your side of the field. Now, what happens for the winner is they only get to keep 1 unit in the city. So if you had a collection of Sphinxes, they all go, they're all gone because they're all worth 2 points. So you can only have 1 unit left when you discard down as the winner. Now the loser gets to keep 2 units in a city, so they can actually keep a Sphinx in play if need be, but they could keep 2 cards as well. So it's up to your choice to see who discards what. And it's very strategic because there's actions and abilities at the bottom of those cards that you might want to leave them in play. Now, in the event of a tie, then you look at the total cost of the units. And if there's still a tie, sadly, everyone has to destroy or discard the cards down to 2. And of course, Fires in the East has 6 new reward tiles, all with various different things they can do, from wiping out your opponent to having them skip turns, to getting new cards and new resources. So again, another reason to jump into this version, some really neat new things. And of course, all these new cards and these new tiles, it all can be mixed in with the other games to make it a much bigger, more epic experience. And the last phase is the offering step. And really you're just looking at that number in blue. You're going to take the card and discard it. And that number will dictate how many cards or how many gold you're going to pull into your pools. Now, you can mix it up too. Again, you can have 1 gold and 2 cards or whatever works for your needs at the time. And then the game end triggers when the last reward token is taken. And points are pretty straightforward. If your reward tokens, they're all worth 2 points if they're face down. Now, if you used them in the surge phase, they're only worth 1 point because they're face up now and you use their ability. Or if you have victory point tokens from the Priestess, which is a really cool new power, then you get 2 points for that. And then there's the treasure cards that you might have in your hand, and those are worth 1 point as well. And then whoever has the most points wins the game. All right, folks, just a reminder once again, this has been a Dice Tower paid preview, and everything you've seen here has been in prototype form. So keep an eye on the campaign if there's any changes in the rules or artwork or so forth. Now, with that said, You know, I really like some of the new powers in this edition. I really like the priestess powers and how you can gain victory points that way. And it just really mixes things up. And the fact that it's a streamlined version of Omen, it feels like to me, is really slick. And it plays really, really fast. Like, just so much that you just, oh, let's play again. You know, I like that out of a game where it keeps you coming back for more. And it was just a lot of fun. All right, so if this looks like a game that would be of interest to you, I'm sure they'd appreciate your support. I think that's it for me, and until next time, we'll see you at the table.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching the Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.